All right, welcome, folks. We are here to talk today about Federalist number 70, one of the required documents for AP government. Obviously, this is a Federalist paper, so it is arguing for ratification of the Constitution, why the Constitution should be ratified, right? And this is written by Hamilton. And the title, right, Federalist number 70, the Executive Department further considered. So this is going to be the reasons why the Constitution should be ratified. And in this argument, he's really arguing his argument in Federalist number 70 is for a single executive. There was some debate about whether the president should be a singular position, right? One person. Many believed at the Constitutional Convention that it should be a council of people, right, to disperse power. And like the big fear of the framers, one of the big fears was a too powerful national government, right? So the if you dilute the power amongst a number of presidents, magistrates, then it's going to restrict their ability to abuse power. Okay, and he kind of argues the opposite. He's like, no, actually, we need one person, and this one person. There's a few reasons why he's a big advocate of energy in the executive, which we'll talk about that. And then he also talks about that one person is better to make decisions, right? And then it kind of goes along with this whole energy that one person is best to make decisions. If you need decisions made, it's better for one person, unity in one person. And anytime there's a council or a group of people, then oftentimes there is discontent, right? There is a sense of disagreement, right? People discontent or disagreement, and the ability to make decisions is not as swift as it would be with just one person. So I highlighted a few things here that I think are pretty important. If you follow along with me, feel free to stop the video at any time if you want to obviously take your own notes. But the first thing he talks about is energy in the executive is a leading character in the definition of good government. Okay. Energy in the executive, energy being not like hyper, not energetic, but energy being that the ability to decision make, the ability to best decisions in one person, the ability to make swift decisions, the ability to make executive decisions is necessary for good government. It's essential to the protection of the community against foreign attacks. It is not less essential to the steady administration of the laws, to the protection of property against those irregular and high standard combinations, which sometimes interrupt the ordinary courts of justice, to the security of liberty against the enterprises and assault of ambition, of faction, and of anarchy. Okay, so all of this, he's laying out the reasons why energy in the executive is good. And he goes on to kind of offer his counterclaim that this is good government, energy in the executive is good government, right? This is bad government. A feeble executive, a weak executive implies a feeble, weak execution of government. A feeble execution is but another phase for bad execution. And in government ill executed, whatever it may be in theory, must be in practice a bad government. Okay, so good government, energy executive, bad government leads to, or bad leadership, bad executive leads to bad government. Sorry about that. All right, the next point: the ingredients which constitute energy in the executive are first, unity; second, duration; thirdly, an adequate provision for its support; fourthly, competent powers. Okay, so he's talking about energy in the executive and what is necessary for that president. Okay, unity; that we have unity in one person, right? Not unity in a group, but unity in one person. Duration, right? There has to be a duration. There were some people that argued for a life term president, right? Like our judges, our Supreme Court judges. It's not. It would set a 4-year term, but there needs to be a duration for that president. Adequate provision for its support. Okay, so an ability to do its job, an ability to be independent, an ability to obviously carry out the laws and do his support, and then also that also applies to support for the position, meaning uh, compensation. Okay, so an adequate salary needs to be a position that is secure in its position and somebody that's not going to be easily influenced or easily corrupted, right? And fourthly, competent powers, kind of the ability to do his job. The ingredients which constitute safety in the republic sense are first, a due dependence on the people, secondly, a due responsibility. Okay, so there's a dependence on the people to carry out and to do his job, and a responsibility of laws, responsibility of job security, and um, responsibility to the job for that person. Okay? So it goes on to quote a few other things, right? Many people have declared in favor of a single executive. We're talking about one person, right? And it's best calculated to conciliate the confidence of the people and to secure the privileges and interests. So one person is best able to draw confidence from the people. And he's gonna talk about that a little bit later too. Like why not a group? Why can't a group draw confidence from the people? And we'll talk about that in a little bit. The unity is conducive to energy, decision, activity, secrecy, and dispatch will generally characterize the proceedings of a man in much more eminent degree than the proceedings of any greater number. In proportion as the number is increased, these qualities will be diminished. So one person is able to carry out these factors of government, right? The more people that you have, the ability to carry out this decision making, activity, secrecy, and dispatch is diminished amongst a group of people. The unity may be destroyed in two ways. Okay, so remember the first thing that's necessary for a single executive is unity. Unity can be dissolved in two ways. One, by vesting power in two people, right, or two or more people, and the second way is basically having a council that that person is responsible for. And he goes on to talk about the Rome and the failures of Rome and how multiple leaders led to the collapse of Rome. He gives other historical factors too. But basically, what he's saying, if you want to destroy unity, give power to two people, or give sorry, hold on, or give make that person responsible to a council of people, right? And that's going to destroy unity also. The experience of other nations will afford little instruction of this head. As far, however, it is teaches it. I'm sorry. As far, however, as it teaches anything, it teaches us not to be enamored by plurality in the executive. Okay. So again, not so much a council of people, but one single. Right. Wherever two or more persons are engaged in any common enterprise or pursuit. So here, what he's going to be talking about, he's going to be talking about the disadvantages of group decision making. Okay. Whenever two or more persons are engaged in any kind of common enterprise or pursuit, there is always danger of difference of opinion. Okay, so you want to make decisions better, have one person do it, right? If you start to include multiple people in the decision making process, it's very hard for groups of people to come to decisions about things. Everybody has their own agenda, everybody has their own wishes, and getting people to come to an agreement on one thing can be difficult. If it be a public trust or office in which they are clothed with equal dignity and authority, there is peculiar danger of personal emulation and even animosity. From either, and especially from all of these causes, the most bitter dissensions are apt to spring. Whenever these happen, they lessen the respectability, weaken the authority, and distract the plans and operation of those whom they divide. Okay, so basically, he's talking about that decision making process and how the uh, discontent or the dissent that can come from multiple people making decisions. What's it going to do? It's going to lessen the respectability, weaken the authority, and distract the plans and operation from those whom they divide, the executives themselves. Okay, so engaging two or more people in decision making process is dangerous. All right, continuing on. Okay, so here he's talking. He goes on to talk about yes, legislatures are good for multiple councils, for multiple people, right? To include many people in the legislative process is good, right? We want a deliberate lawmaking procedure, and it's going to be slow and deliberate. We do not want that for our president. Okay? Upon the principles of a free government, inconveniences from the sorts just mentioned must necessarily be submitted to the formation of the legislator. But it is unnecessary and therefore unwise to introduce them into the constitution of the executive. It is hereto that they may be most pernicious. In the legislature, promptitude of decision is oftener an evil than a benefit. The differences of opinion and the jarrings of parties in the department of government, though they may sometimes obstruct salutary plans, yet often promote deliberation and circumspection and serve to check excesses in the majority. When a resolution too is once taken, the opposition must be at an end. Okay, what he's talking about here again is slow, deliberate processes. Yes, that is good in legislature, right? We want slow, deliberate processes in the legislature, but that's not what we want from an executive. We want energy. We want decisiveness. We want an ability to make decisions. We want somebody that can come to a decision quickly, right? Right. But one of the weightiest objections to the plurality in the executive, which lies as much against the last as the first plan, is that it tends to conceal faults and destroy responsibility. Okay, so what he's going to start getting into here is if you have more than one person in the executive, right, it's often responsible to find who is responsible, right? If you want to have a good government, if you want to have a government representative of the people, right, and not rooted in greed and deceit and treason, right, then you need one person. You can much easier detect a illegitimate leader in a single executive than you could in a council. Okay. It often becomes impossible amidst mutual accusations to determine on whom the blame of the punishment of a pernicious measure or a series of pernicious measures ought really to fall. That's what he's saying, right? He's saying that if you have bad leaders, if you have bad decision makers, you can find that in one executive. You know who that person is, right? So he's kind of arguing like, hey, we need one single executive. If that person's bad, we know who that person is, and we can remove that person in elections. We can remove that person, right, in a democracy, in a council, in a series of electors or a series of uh, leaders. It's often possible to find who is the illegitimate leader, um, where the responsibility is going to fall in a group of people. Moving on here. The idea of a council to the executive, which has so generally obtained in the state constitutions, has been derived from the maxim of Republican jealousy that considers power as safer in the hands of a number of men than of a single man. Okay, so this is his theme. This is what he's talking about, right? Um, a maxim of Republican jealousy which considers power as safer in the hands of a number of men than a single man, right? However, when power, therefore, as I say, is placed in the hands of so small a number of men as to admit of their interests and views being easily combined in common enterprise as an artful leader, it becomes more liable to abuse and more dangerous when abused than if lodged in the hands of one man. Okay, kind of going on to what he's talking about earlier, abuse of power is much more can be detected easier or easily in a single executive than in a council. There's just a few more things. We're getting close to the end. Hopefully, this is starting to make sense for you. Right? Again, the whole overarching theme is oh, that's it. Is one executive, energy and executive, somebody that can make decisions, right? Make quick decisions, make decisive decisions, which is much more capable in a single executive than in a council, right? Councils are bad because there often tends to be discontent, dissent amongst the councils, difference of opinions. It's much more difficult to weed out bad leadership, who's responsible, who's not responsible in a council, than it is in a single, right? So this whole thing is arguing for one single executive, energy and executive, and we need that in order to move forward as a unified country. He also does go on to talk about factions also and how factions are best controlled by a single executive too. He goes on to talk about, if you want find the people. If you want to minimize tyranny, if you want to minimize an abuse of power, it's better in with one person to do so. That person can be removed from office. That person is more responsible to the people than a group, a council of people. So thanks for watching. Hopefully that makes some sense for you, and keep studying.